calamity. He didn't bump you. He didn't nudge you. He rubbed you. And rubbing, son, is racing.
And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing, episode number 1. We made it. We actually did what we promised, and we got an episode out the week later after episode 0. Thank you to everyone who's actually gone out to listen to it, subscribed, and even rated it on all the podcast apps of choice. You've done really well. We actually hit the charts just with an episode 0, so thank you so much to everyone for believing us and enjoying the content we chucked out there. By the way, I'm Wilko, and I'm joined tonight by Brayden. How you going, mate?
Good. Pretty busy week, but apart from that, looking forward to having a chat about some iRacing.
Yes, and we have got a lot. We aim for a half-hour episode. We've already got enough content, I reckon, for about 45 minutes. So we really do need to get into this. So I'm just going to quickly say thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for choosing Locked On as your place to go for iRacing stuff. Go check out the website, lockedonlads.com. You can also check out the Discord in there. Jump in there and have a chat. It's a very active Discord. It's got not only racing, but it's also got meat and lots of other cool stuff. So chuck in there, especially if you're playing Valheim at the moment. There's a whole channel dedicated to that. lockedonlads.com/Discord will get you in there. Also, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already to this feed or reviewed it, we really do need help to get the exposure out there so other people can enjoy it, which means more listens, more chance for us to keep this going for a long time. So that's the best way you can help us, is go subscribe and definitely review to the podcast. But let's get right into it, Brayden. What have you been up to for the last week in iRacing or real-life racing?
Real-life racing, if only. But no, I've been doing a little bit of iRacing over the last week or so, sort of sticking to my staples of the skip barber. So had a really good race at Okayama, which is actually a really underrated track for such a sort of simple track, in my opinion.
That was the long version of that track, the full course, wasn't it?
It was. You're the one with the nice hairpin at the end of the big long straight.
Yeah,
so,
that brings a lot of people unstuck. It's good fun.
Yeah, really good fun. So I had quite an interesting race, to be honest. I hadn't really done much practice and managed to qualify 3rd or 4th in top split, only to have a bit of a spin after getting some netcode with someone early on the 1st or 2nd lap, and ended up right back to 18th. Worked my way back up to about 10th or so, coming onto the final lap, and I was sort of like, yep, I'm happy with that. At least I've saved some I rating, haven't lost any safety rating. And then on the last lap, there was about 6 cars that had accidents, and I managed to ping myself for 4th place. So that was pretty interesting. And then obviously getting prepared for this week's Ozicar, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode. Yeah. So heading to Lime Rock Park, the West Chicane, which has been a bit controversial this week. So certainly something a little bit different to race at. And then that's probably...
I'll just quickly touch on West Chicane, just quickly.
Sure.
Changes the track completely.
It does.
I must admit.
The fast-flowing end to the track, which gives you a lot of draft and a lot of overtaking opportunities into turn 1, certainly gets reduced thanks to that West Chicane.
Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting race, but we will get onto that later.
So that's about it in terms of actual racing for myself, but also been doing a little bit of watched the SCOPS over the last couple of weeks, which is always interesting. We'll touch on that a little bit later. And then obviously watching some great real-world racing with the V8 Supercars on the weekend with Shane Van Gisbergen, just an absolutely heroic effort. That guy's a freak.
Yeah, so, and have you heard the news that came out today about how heroic that actually was?
I did not know.
No, so he went in and got some... So saw the doctor. He's come back off a shoulder. He's broke his collarbone, so he had some work done on that to get him back. And I was riding a motorbike or something stupid like that. So the doctor went, yeah, cool, your shoulder's fine, no problems at all. It's mending really well. You did no damage to it. But by the way, you got 3 broken ribs there.
Wow.
So from something that happened, I didn't even get to see the race, and I feel real bad for it. I had such a busy weekend. But whether there was a shunt in the race or there was or the actual original injury, yeah, just somewhere along the lines, he's picked up 3 more broken ribs and didn't really know about it till the doctors today. So yeah,
that's incredible. Amazing. His first race from starting about 17th and finding his way back through the field, and then the move in towards one of the last sort of sections where he there was 4 cars in front of him, and he managed to dive up the inside of 2 and get himself into second place. Like, he's just an incredible racer. And then with the rain coming for races 2 and 3, that just suits him perfectly. I'm sure we all remember what he did at Bathurst a year ago, where he just completely destroyed everyone in the wet and put himself into the position to win the race. He's just an incredible driver.
This is my fear with the V8s, where Scotty's gone. These two are both freaks, and I just don't see anyone who's on that caliber anymore. So I'm a little bit worried about it, where it's just going to be the Giz show this year, and cool for all the Giz fans out there, but for people who want really close racing, unless they put him at the back of the grid every single race, it might get a bit one-sided, which is a shame. But we'll see how that goes anyway. Yeah.
And you can see that with the 2 Shell cars just being almost nowhere now. It goes from Scott McLaughlin dominating every bloody race, and
well, even Coulthard being right in the hunt on most of the time as well. You can see, the money speaks, unfortunately. So.
It does. And then the only other thing I've sort of been doing is been binge watching some of the Drive to Survive on Netflix. So pretty heavily into season 3 now, which is just awesome as well. So that's been my week and a bit.
I keep on seeing that trailer pop up, and I'm like, I really should start watching that. So I might have to start doing that soon, especially during the day when I'm doing paperwork. I reckon it looks really good.
It's great. How about yourself?
So, I had until we did this write up yesterday. I pretty much had nothing to talk about because I've been really busy. But I just want to quickly chuck out a game. It's on my YouTube channel, Locked On Lads YT. Circuit Superstars, top down racer, but it's very simulated, like the old Micro Machines. Go check it out, or check out the video at least. I've been playing a bit more of that and doing a bit more videos on that as far as racing games go. I suck at it, but I'm pretty keen to get better at it. And it's one of those games that actually has a cool skill curve, so I'm looking forward to getting into that a bit more. But look, been practicing a bit of skips at Lime Rock because I need practice in the skips, and we'll talk about that though, because that's obviously related to Ozicar very soon. But look, I jumped in today and I went, that's it, I'm going to actually do an official today. Skip started this week at Road Atlanta. I've never done the full course, which is what it was today, and I haven't done skips there for a long time. So I jumped in. I ended up 15 minutes of practice before the actual race started, and I spun almost every one of those laps, and I was about 2 or 3 seconds off the pace, even on my optimal. So I was a little bit worried going in. It registered to put me in. I'm like, oh, too late now. Everything was set up to record it, so I did record the race and got a good quali lap in 10th out of the field, so was happy with that. And then sort of dodged a lot of cars, dodged a lot of carnage for the first couple laps. That's all you want to do in skippy officials, is just stay out of trouble for those first few laps. And
absolutely
found myself 7th, but off pace, and few people hold me up. Few cars that had got crashed come out and wouldn't let me pass, so slipped back down to 10th and just wanted to hold on. That was the break-even mark for iRating for me, so that's what I was going to be happy with. And then, I was just holding on to a fast guy in front, and then he clipped another guy on one of the corners, the end of the double apex hairpin sort of thing at the end of Road Atlanta there, and which then jumped me back up to 8th. I hung around, and then with a lap to go, 7th, and I'm like, here we go, that's good. 22 iRating or something it's going to get me. I'm happy with this. No practice. It made a fairly good video. I was always around someone and always trying to fight to hold on and getting better each lap. And then we come to the end of the straight, and there's a car sitting in the middle of the line, and I'm like, no, he's off the track, he'll disappear. No. And then the guy in front of me's clipped him. I've somehow missed both of them, and then I look on the right, and there's a car that's on the side there. Jumped up to 4th position, going into the first turn of the final lap, and held on to get 4th. So pretty similar to your story, but turned out to be a pretty good video. So I'm going to edit that tomorrow, and I'll probably put it up over the weekend for people to sort of watch. So
it is good with the way the iRating is. Like I do find, as much as I try not to care about my iRating, and I try to tell myself it's not that big of a deal, it does keep me involved in races that I know I'm not going to win. It just that little making sure I'm over. Even if I gain 4 iRating, I just take that as a win. It makes me keep going. So it is good.
Oh man, I after the race I was so pumped. I got 2x in the whole track, and I'm like, that's good. I'm really happy with that. That's going to be a great result. And I wasn't even paying attention, so the little S-bend bit up the top and rode a lander after the first turn. I just went straight ahead on and got myself the third X, which ended up losing me 0.01. 0.1 on the SR, and I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, the iRating, it's a good thing. I enjoy it, and I'm doing the road to 2000. I'm trying to get there. I'm 1600 now, so it was a good result.
Yeah,
so.
I did that, and in my holidays away from work, and I was super excited. I was like, I'm going to get to 2K. Got to 2K so easily all of a sudden, all the way up to about 2400, and then it was all downhill from there. I was back down to about 1700 a week or so ago, and I was starting to get a little bit frustrated. But you just gotta relax. It all comes. It swings and roundabouts. Swings and roundabouts.
Well, the upside of this was I thought, third split easily. There was like 80, 90 people registered for it.
Yeah.
Turns out it was second split, so I ended up getting a fourth in second split.
Nice.
27 seconds off the lead. So
very good.
It wasn't too bad for 15 minutes practice with 3 spins in the 15 minutes practice. But yeah, look, it was good. Look, we've been talking Ozicar the whole time. Let's get right into Ozicar, because we've both been practicing Ozicar. We both raced Ozicar last week for round 1 of season 6. Well, one of us raced. The other one just sort of spectated. So let's do a bit of a wrap-up of season 6 round 1 opener at Silverstone Historic GP. Split sprint race format, shorter race and a slightly longer race with a pit stop in the second one, as Ozicar does. Dominated by 2 things. One is Perez line, and the other one damage model. So the Perez won both races, and
I think that might be that might be a common theme for the rest of the season, to be honest.
Yeah, look, if you don't know, Perez is a Skippy driver from around the world. He's out of Spain. I'm going to butcher that. Something like. Yeah, okay. So he's won multiple things around the world in Skippies, and he's decided to come. Ozicar's the next thing on his trophy cabinet that he wants to get. So he's come out, didn't disappoint, and a little bit of controversy, a few points, I think, overtaking out of the pits and the line were 2 of those things that sort of came up. But yeah, overall, really good race, like entertaining, very close racing, as Historic GP is with its fast-flowing nature.
And let's be honest, the field is stacked this season. This would probably be close to the strongest field I'd say Ozicar has fielded for a skip bar of a season, that's for sure.
Yeah, not only that, but all those people who've been racing there for 2 or 3, 4 seasons have really come along. Like, you're watching people like Jason Fewens and Bakasoulis battle it out towards the end of a race where you would have thought, okay, Jason's had a few crashes last year, but he's always been fast. But Bakasoulis back 2 or 3 seasons ago was definitely not that pace. Jeremy Bush, even though he had a mistake in race 1, very much up on the pace. But yeah, then you look at the types of Alex McKellar, Ben Snell, Russell Clark, Perez,
Chastanoff, your teammate.
Chastanoff, yes, yeah, Chastanoff, my teammate. Yeah, it's just an absolutely stacked field, and if you're not watching it, it's going to be an amazing series if we keep all these on board and get to the end and even make it stronger next season. So, look, besides Perez winning both, McKellar pushed him, or Snell pushed him. I honestly can't remember.
I think
now,
it was McKellar in race 1, and Ben Snell in race 2. So it was a little bit of both. And yeah, like you said, for those that don't know, the controversy was that coming out of the section that normally would hold the chicane at the back, you can literally put all 4 wheels of your car on the inside of the curb and effectively cut it. And you don't even get a 0x. So that's something that I don't think any of us knew until all of a sudden mid-race we hear a call from the top split boys saying, is that line legal? And we also had no idea.
And then me sitting in the pits because I had nothing better to do, actually watched it and then explained to the people who were watching what was happening. So, but he was not only all 4 wheels inside the curb, but there was almost a half a car length between him and the curb. It was and race 2, it just looked silly because everyone was just following that line. Now, since then, rule change for Ozicar. It used to be, if you push the X's, you got a penalty. Now the wording is you need to keep at least 2 wheels on the track at all times. If you get you get warned, and you don't stop it, then you're out for a pit stop penalty. So,
which, to be honest, I think is fair enough. Like it's not a good look on the broadcast, in my opinion, and.
No.
And at the end of the day, racers will race and they'll take whatever advantage that they can get, which is what Perez did. And at the end of the day, no one said that he couldn't. So I think what he did is perfectly fine. And, to be honest, if I had known about it and I was the only one, I probably would have done the same thing. But I think as long as, we've drawn attention to it and, we know what the rules are now, you can sort of pull that marker back.
Yeah, well, that's it. If you keep pushing it now, you're going to only get yourself in trouble. So, it definitely wasn't a good look, and definitely something the series really hasn't seen. We had the season with two unnamed that kept on putting some X's on the board, but, that changed, and we've always been about just good, solid, in between the curbs racing, so it's good to see that the change was made pretty quick. So
so I guess the official results from round one saw Christian Perez take both the race wins, with race 1, the 15-minute race, going Perez, McKellar, and then Chastanoff in third place. Myself managed to hold on for a 6th position, just behind my teammate Nathan Verney. And unfortunately, Peter, you were down in 2021st.
Yeah, so just a quick one. We start the race. We go the first right-hander, then we go Chapel, Beckett, and the other one I can't keep on forgetting.
Maggots.
The Maggots. That's the one I should remember that one most of all. Jeremy Bush spins the first one. I avoid that by going straight across the grass. I come back on the track, and then Russell Clark and Scott has come together with a little bit of netcode, a little bit of deflation of tyres, a little bit of everything.
Which we'll touch base on soon as well.
So I'm avoiding Scott, and because I'd cut across the grass, I'd come at the wrong angle, so I then come off onto the almost the extra concrete on the side there. So I was coming back on. I see Russell Clark coming from the side. I'm like, okay, at first glance, you see, okay, there's a gap beside him. Everyone's going to be on the right-hand side coming out of there. I've got plenty of room to come on and stay narrow. And then I've come on, as I'm coming on, I realise Russell Clark's going about 40% speed here. So he's not going to be where I thought he was going to be. All of a sudden, he's right where I am coming back on. I've taken evasive action. You look in the replay and there's air between us. But my rear tyre fell off from that air between us, and that put me into the wall because I had no control of the car. Yeah. And then got a warning for poor re-entry. But, it was poor re-entry, but it was split-second stuff that, anyway.
I was very unlucky to miss Russell as well. That happened right in front of me. Those two were fighting in front of me, and I just got on the brakes enough. And it was one of those ones where you brake, you're like, I see it happening. I broke rather. And then I see him getting closer and closer. I'm like, I need to brake harder and harder, and I lost a couple of spots, I think. But at the very least, managed to keep myself clean. Race 2, again, went to Christian Perez, this time from Ben Snell and Alex John in third place. And again, I managed to hold on for a 6th place, just behind Russell and Nathan Verney. So it was actually a really good round for myself and Nathan Verney, who have managed to set ourselves atop the team points for now, which I was a bit surprised by. And
considering defending champions and very stacked field, like Top Split is come straight back in, Milo's back there. This is a strong series for the team events. So congratulations on sticking it to the top.
Yeah, so we've got Sharp EIT by Ep.1. We're in first place from Van Diemen Racing, which is Russell Clark and Ben Snell, and then third place Top Split Racing, which is Alex McAdam and Alex John. So it's going to be a tough season. So we got 13 points at the moment, but I think it's going to be very difficult to hold on to that for the season. It's going to be tricky to go back to back to back. Let's just say that.
Definitely, but I believe in you. And for those playing at home, I came last in that second race, pushed too hard and put into the wall, got another meatball. So the interesting thing out of race 1, now we talked about the damage model off the cuff a bit before, but everyone who crashed on that first track, I'm like, here we go, I'm about to come out 8-minute required repaired. Every single car came out at that same time. Yep. There was about 4 cars on the same lap when we came back out from that pit stop. So it was just like everyone just went, yep, you just got 8.5 minutes. Bad luck. We don't care what damage you've got. That's your penalty. And I'm like, that. I've never seen it that similar across all the damages. But, they're they've said in the forums, they're talking about it. Open wheel as a whole a lot more fragile at the moment, and with the netcode issues, it's sort of exacerbating it. When you see yourself not hitting the other car, and all of a sudden you got a wheel coming off, it's a thing. They're working on it, I assume.
Well,
we'll get a fix hopefully soon.
Before we talk too much about the new open wheel damage model, I suppose, let's quickly go through the SCOPS results as well. So that's a series that hopefully we'll be able to follow on this podcast for this season. So we've had 2 rounds of the VRS V8 SCOPS season so far, and speaking of Stacks Fields, this is certainly one of them with some of the best drivers definitely competing in it. So they've headed so far to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is one of my favourite tracks, to be honest. Quite a fun track to race at.
There. I feel bad saying that.
It's really good. It's a really enjoyable
hold on.
track.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, I haven't been there.
So
I keep on thinking Virginia or whichever one it is, but no, it's not.
Yeah. So we had 2 races there. We had a 58 lap race and a 25 lap race. So race 1 was won by Richard Hampstead. So he took the first race there from Madison Down and Brady Myers. So Trans-Tasman Racing taking the 1, 2, 3 there, as well as race 2, which was the shorter 25 lap race, going to Sean Lindsay, who won that one from Christian Smart and Dylan Rudd. So a bit of a different mix of drivers in the top 3 for that one there. So that was interesting to see. And then last week they headed to another track that I must admit I do enjoy racing at. This one in the Skippy is full of draft, which is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, you don't see it enough, I don't think.
It's definitely...
I almost jumped into it the other week when it was an official, and just because it came up, and I'm like, you just don't get that.
Yeah. So the 3 races there were won by... The first race, all 3 races were 26-lap sprint races. The first one won by Emily Jones, racing for Team McLaren Shadow. The second one by Jordan Caruso, which was...
The 29th ever winner of V8 Scoops, apparently.
There you go.
So they were celebrating that during the week.
Yep. And he won that one from Richard Hampstead and Jake Maloney. So again, Trans-Tasman putting on a strong show there. And then with the last race, won there by Madison Down, winning that one from Jake Maloney and Jordan Caruso. So pretty tough field, and Trans-Tasman clearly dominating the V8 SCOPS series at the moment. So that leaves us with, I believe, Richard Hampstead sitting atop the leaderboard on 879 points, Jordan Caruso in second place, and Joshua Anderson in third place. Although that does say only 3 starts, so I'm not sure if all of the races have been added to that points total, so I could be slightly off on that.
All good. We'll work it out one day. Don't worry about it. So quickly, there's ANZCAR does a few oval tracks, and I'm very keen to watch some oval tracks. And haven't had a chance to watch the races, but we'll just bring you the results from the latest races. I promise I'll actually get in and watch some races fairly soon. But let's have a quick look at the ANZCARs, the actual NASCAR Cup that they got going. Neil Pearson took the race in 1 hour and 46 minutes around... wow. You think I'd be more prepared than this? Around Atlanta. So, yeah, definitely won the race with 2 seconds, which is pretty good in NASCAR. Pretty good effort in a NASCAR race. So, Mirko got second. Philip Worley got third. So that was your podium finishes, all within 3 seconds. The impressive part of this is, for a NASCAR race, 1 hour and 46 minutes in length, the top 19 was still on the lead lap.
Oh, wow.
So if you are wanting some really good local some really good Australian and New Zealand NASCAR racing, then definitely chuck in ANZCAR, which is on the FGM Cast network. MGM eCast network, I think it is. But so the overall leaderboard for that one sees Josh Micklemore on top. So 226 points to Neil Pearson, 222, gained a little bit of points up on him there. Daniel, I'm not going to pronounce it, third, and then Raymond Jaeger and Edward Forrester, fourth and fifth. So there's some interesting names in here. That's why I'm following it. Seventh is Michael Skurlock. You might remember him from Ozicar a couple of seasons back.
Very quick driver.
Exactly, and Chris Purnell, which is virtual motorsports mentor extraordinaire as well. So they're both running under Crankshift Racing. So both Michael Skurlock and Chris. So keep an eye out for them. They're in 12th and 7th currently. So
Could be an interesting guest to get on one day, Chris Purnell. Your coat itself.
I will be working on that for sure. So we've already got one guest confirmed, which we'll get onto later.
Ooh, that's a surprise for me.
I hit him up in Discord today, and he said yes, publicly as well. So everyone's going to hold him to that. So Ira Felberg will be joining us at some stage in the future.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah. So they've got a truck series also, ANZCAR. So they run. I think it's Tuesday nights. It's Tuesday and Thursday or something along those lines. They went to Kansas Speedway yesterday, and the trucks raced for an hour and 15 minutes around Kansas, with Luke Trahar taking the win by the smallest of margins, 0.094 after an hour and 15 minutes, with Dwayne Pearce coming in third, only 0.178 of a second back, with Stephen Williams fourth and Tom Hagen in fifth. So very well done to all you guys. Michael Skurlock down there in 19th, 7 laps down, but the top 12 actually there finished on the lead lap. So it's always good racing with those guys there. We'll just see if I can get that series table up. Stephen Williams is leading on 224 points. Massive lead over Luke Trahar, who jumped up 7 places after this week's race to 150 points. Christopher Finlay in third. Riley Curtis in fourth, equal with Matthew Raymond. Dwayne Pearce in sixth. There's like 10 points covering second through 7th at the moment, so very good effort there. Chris Purnell is in ninth, dropped down a few places this week, was sitting up in 4th before this. And we'll look for Skurlock, is equal 14th right there, so definitely ANZCAR. Look them up. Definitely follow that. That's a series I want to follow as we go through the podcast.
Yeah, and I guess if there's anyone listening who would like us to take a look at their series and maybe look to follow it, I know I've had a couple of chats with people regarding some Gentlemen Sim Racing Club series that you might look to have a follow and have a chat about as well. Make sure you let us know, either by joining up with that Discord that you were talking about earlier, Wilko, or any of our posts that we've been posting around the place.
Yes, definitely. LockedOnLads.com/Discord will get you that link, or just hit me up on Twitter, Wilko's Chill Zone, or the actual Locked On Lads Twitter as well. Or hit us up in any of the Discords. We're in about 40 different Discords, so find us in one of them and just hit us up and we'll get you in. Definitely. We want to follow all the local stuff. That's what we're about. We're an Australian podcast. We want to give Australian content out there because it's just lacking at this stage in the podcast world. But thinking of other things that are broken in the podcast world, in the normal racing world, sorry, not the iRacing world, broken wheel damage model. Do you want to have a quick chat about this? We've got a bit of a forum post, which I laughed because it's Russell Clark has started it, and yeah, he was one of the big instigators or the big problems from the Thursday night where I hit him with an air swipe and got damaged. He got hit with an air swipe and got damaged, and then I think later on in the second race he might have got hit, or someone else got hit from him and got damage as well. So it just seemed to be the theme of the night.
Yeah. And I guess our first exposure to the damage model maybe somewhat going wrong was actually last season in Ozicar, when we had all practiced basically with one damage model, come race night needing to have a non-iRacing safety car involved, changed the damage model. And that was the first sort of experience we had with weird damage models, where all of a sudden any kind of little tap to the wall meant that we were getting meatball flags, when in practice sessions we'd been completely fine. But that wasn't this problem. This is due to the new damage model that's come out, which you would think would fix the problem.
That's the solution, though. The solution is, if you don't like the new damage model, you put a car in the field that has the old damage model, reverts everything back to the old damage model, and you're good to go, except for Long Beach. We experienced what happens when you bring the Skippy back to the old model. You get a meatball for just about anything. So the two options we've got at the moment with Skippies is, or any kind of open wheeler, is old damage model, get a meatball for the slightest tap. New damage model, you lose wheels and you lose drive shafts and you lose just about everything for the slightest touch. So okay, open wheelers probably shouldn't be having contact anyway, and Aussie Cars is a contactless thing, a series, but, you know, it's just, yeah, getting a little bit much. And look, I'm looking at the post at the moment, it's 3 pages deep at the moment, and then it also links to another one pretty quickly as well, where they're trying to collate all the people who are complaining about it. But like I said, they're working on it, but we're not close to getting a fix at this stage. Hopefully not. Hopefully we are, but I don't think we are at this stage.
And I think the frustrating thing is just people put in their week's worth of practice and go to things like the Ozicar events, where they're hoping to give their best showing, and the slightest touch that shouldn't cause someone to be out of the race, and especially if they're fighting for a championship or they're in a close battle with others in the championship, it can really put a dent in their chances straight away, and that's sort of what we saw in the opening round.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm flicking through it just now again, and it's just, it definitely is improved. Definitely, there's just hundreds of people here agreeing with it, and like you said, like I got 5 laps in out of a possible, I can't remember how, it was like 20-something laps on Thursday night, so I was one of those people who lost a lot of time because of, one was my error, but I shouldn't have got a meatball from hitting the wall the way I did. I should have been able to at least get it back into the pits, which would have avoided a 1.5-minute tow from around the corner from the pits, 2 corners to go, and it's frustrating. That's all I can say, really. So
I guess
Hey, look, Alex McKellar's in here saying I'm not. It's not as well. So look, all the Aussie car guys are getting in there complaining about it. So hopefully they listen to us.
And I guess the good thing is iRacing are looking into it. So we just got to trust that they're going to work on it quickly. And I think the good thing is that Skip Barbers is such a popular series that, in general, not just in Aussie car but in the official series, that it's something they should work on and get fixed up pretty quickly, I would hope.
Yeah, definitely. So I got all excited when I hopped on the computer yesterday to do some racing, and there was a hotfix to download. I'm like, yeah, maybe they're going to fix the damage model. No, not at all. They fixed something to do with the paint shop, the general UI. Oh no, this is the 18th. 18th of the 3rd it dropped. So the UI should no longer pop up over the running of a sim session with a login prompt. That got fixed. Race control had some issues where it's fixed. The caution period begins where the leader is in the pits and has passed the finish line, but everyone else is on track, is not yet at the same lap. All drivers on track would get a wave by to pass the leader. That's pretty nice. I like that one. Keep that one in, or at least have an option for it. Then there's a whole heap of dirt stuff. So the dirt tyre parameters of very stock cars have been dramatically updated for the more realistic performance. This is leading into Bristol Dirt coming up. So yeah, it's good to see them getting ready for that. I'm pretty excited to watch some Bristol Dirt races when they finally come around. So
they did fix some of the new damage model problems, but unfortunately not to do with the Skip Barber or the NASCAR, the ARCA, and the street stock. So.
Yeah, so unfortunately the oval guys are getting a lot of love at the moment, which is fair enough because that's probably the biggest player base they've got at the moment. But fix the crash to desktop problem and things like that. So, and animations, this is the one I love the most. Some opponent drivers' heads appear to be missing. They have been found and successfully reattached by our expert surgeons. There are only minor complaints of neck pain. Drivers using the following cars were affected, and it's the Dallara, all the Dallaras basically. So,
well, it would be hard to drive one of those open wheel cars with no head. I will.
Aerodynamic, mate. Aerodynamic. Head's not getting in the way. It's
fair
great.
Fair point.
There's a few other bits and pieces with the Lamborghini, the NASCAR, and things like that. But that's what the hot fix brought us. I'm looking forward to the next one because every time I see one, I get excited that there will be a damage model change in there. But yeah, I'll be disappointed every time. But that's the main news for this week. We're going to quickly go on to a rotating segment that we're going to bring in. This week it's going to be, let's have a deep dive into Brayden's rig. And you guessed it, next week will probably be my rig, but that's okay. This week's Brayden's rig, mate. What do you got? What gets you around the track in a sim?
Oh, well, just to confirm, we are talking about the simulator rig, right? Because I don't think anyone
No, I'm
needs
talking about your six-pack, mate, that I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
great.
we need to talk about that one. No, I guess to understand where my rig's at the moment, I guess we really got to go back to how I started in iRacing. And
Oh, look, an origin story. I like it.
yeah, it all sort of started way back when. No, when I guess decided to look into iRacing, as I said on episode 0 after seeing the E-Series, and I actually set up my MacBook Pro with boot camp and tried racing with a controller just to try and get an idea of what iRacing actually was before quickly realizing this is not a game you can play with a controller. It's or a sim that you can play with a controller before I make anyone angry. And decided to get that G920 that I strapped to the desk, and had my office chair that I had to put the wheels in an old pair of shoes to stop myself sliding around on the
wow,
on the floor.
nice idea. I like that.
I'd love to be able to claim it as my own, but I definitely stole it from someone on Facebook. And yeah, just had the single 24-inch monitor before upgrading to what I thought was revolutionary at the time, a camping chair, so that I didn't have to worry about the shoes in the office seat. But quickly noticed that I was really enjoying iRacing and that this is going to be something I'm going to be doing for a while. So that's sort of where we end up with what I have now. So it sort of started by me getting the triple 27-inch monitors. So at the moment I'm running the MSI Optics G27 C4s, which are 165 hertz, only 1080p monitors, but I guess I'm not too fussed about that perfect clarity. I was more just hoping for something smooth and not too intensive on the PC. And so I bought them with the plan of kind of arranging them on my desk in a way that I'd be able to still use the desk before getting them home and realizing that they don't fit on the desk that I had. So unfortunately that meant I was just racing with the single 27-inch curved monitor on the desk, and the other two were just sitting in the boxes in the spare room. And then I luckily won some money on the showdown with my mighty Port Adelaide Power, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to have a chat to John at Racecraft, another person who would be a great guest, by the way. And bought myself, I think it's an RKS 2.5 chassis with the shifter bar. And I've now added some things like the keyboard tray and a mount for my Stream Deck and things like that with the triple monitor mount. So at the moment I've got the triple monitor mount on the RKS chassis, and I was still running the G920 at the time with the G920 pedals as well. And then I was lucky enough to win some CSL Elite load cell pedals on the raffle page that's going around on Facebook. If anyone hasn't had a crack at those, they're always good fun.
Oh, I've had a crack. I've had those lots. I've had enough. I spent enough money to buy some stuff. Yeah. But anyway,
I've definitely won my fair share. I definitely haven't spent as much money as I've spent. Definitely won more than I've spent, which is nice. So that was, I must admit, a game changer for me. That definitely improved my driving tenfold. I guess the first big upgrade for me was having the triple monitors set up. It made my accident rate go down dramatically. Being able to see,
it's amazing.
It makes such a big difference. Being able to see around you, having that spatial awareness of what's going on. It's
not just that. It's been able to look to your right and left and see the apexes as well.
Yep.
Like, it makes those tight corners so much better. Like, you just can't get it on a single monitor. VR is the only other option.
Yeah.
And cool, VR is probably a better option, but it's just, VR's a whole different beast, and it's something that I can't spend all my time in. But triples is, if you're not running triples, that's probably one of the biggest upgrades you can get just for awareness and of everything, basically. So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then, so had the G920, and then I believe I bought a fourth monitor arm. So I still had my old 24-inch monitor laying around and headed onto Amazon and basically just got a desk clamp sort of monitor arm that I was able to attach to the rig to run my fourth monitor for timing at the top. So that's what I have at the top now. And then I decided, you know what? It's time to bite the bullet and upgrade this G920. And with the Black Friday sales around, I kind of got myself tempted into buying a CSW, so the Club Sport wheelbase, the 2.5 with the BMW rim as part of the Black Friday sales. And I know. I guess I'm still a believer in that. If you're fast, you'll be fast, and it won't matter what you're using. But I must admit, again, that was a game changer for me. You know, it took me a little bit of time, probably a few hours, to really get used to it. But the difference between using that and the G920, you know, I picked up so much consistency and time. And I really think that's what, the right word. I think that's what really shot me up the standings in the Ozicar series. As you know, I sort of already was at the point where I'd felt like I couldn't get any further and get any more out of the Logitech, and I definitely think that made a big difference for me. Yeah, look,
the upgrades you talk about, triple monitors makes you safer and more accurate on your corners. So consistency for starters. You're not getting much more speed. You're getting consistency. Yep. Pedals, load cell. You're getting more consistency because you're putting the foot down against a force rather than just a length, which gets you consistency because you're hitting the same spot repeatedly rather than going too hard or too far or too short. The force feedback, the direct drive wheel, you're not getting much faster, but you're feeling the car disappear from underneath you a lot better. Yeah. So once again, consistency on all those things. And the other thing that when I was watching the E-Series last year, Rick Kelly was talking about, and I didn't even realise, triple monitors give you a clear vision of the horizon. So if your car starts to lose control and dipping to one side, you can see the horizon actually dip and rise on either side, which you don't get on a single monitor.
Right.
And that gives you just that little bit extra feedback to say, hey, this car's not the way it's supposed to be. I better get it back under control.
Yeah, and I guess just as a caveat, the CSW is not direct drive for anyone who's looking at getting
it's not. No. Yeah, sorry.
It is belt driven, but it's it's a big step up over the gear driven stuff from Logitech.
Yes. My bad.
And then the final piece of the puzzle, when I say final piece, I'm sure there'll be more, but the final piece of the puzzle at the moment was another win
by the way.
On. Trust me, I don't want to know. And there's another win on the raffle page, actually. Thanks to John over at Racecraft as well. I just got the Fanatec Formula V2 rim, so I just got that in on Monday. So I've only done a couple of practice sessions, but really enjoying the different feel in the Formula wheel, and especially having a bit better button placement. I'm really enjoying racing with that. So
I can't wait to be able to get all those things in my library. That would be great, but not yet.
So yeah, that's a bit about my rig. I guess there's nothing I can really fault about it, to be honest. I really enjoy racing with it. I'd probably like a bit more of a comfy seat, but it's one of those ones that's hard to justify an upgrade to a pretty expensive seat when I've already got an okay seat, and it's also a seat's not really the easiest thing to move along. So I don't really want to have two racing seats sitting around my house. So
you never know when you need one. I saw in the Le Mans 24-hour last year where the guy's whole rig broke down, so he actually swapped over the rig.
That is true. I did see that.
You never know when you'll need it all. So yeah, look, that's your rig. If you want to see pictures of Brayden's rig, just message him. He'll give you a private DMs. No problems at all.
Yeah, as long as it's the racing rig we're talking about. I can't promise any pictures on the other rig.
Not at all. So, look, that wraps up the deep dive into the rig, and we're going to go into the questions. We hit it up on every single place we could find for questions for the podcast. We got a few back, so you went to the Boosted Media Discord, and we got CT55 has asked the question, if you were to start again with getting into sim racing, what things do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Yeah, I actually thought this was a really interesting question because when I started to have a think about it, there's actually quite a lot that I wish I knew beforehand, you know, both in terms of gear, but more in terms of racing and the patience that it takes to be a good racer. I think that's something that really, probably my first month on iRacing, I was getting so frustrated thinking, God, everyone else on here is terrible. Like, why are they crashing into me? Thinking I was basically felt like I was Shane Van Gisbergen and everyone else was the people crashing into me. Before it really took me a good month, 2 months, and I honestly think, well, and this will probably be part of one of our other questions, joining Ozicar really sort of enlightened me to the fact that actually I was making a lot of mistakes. And once I could step back and reflect on myself a little bit more, I actually became a much better racer.
Yeah, definitely. So I watched a video in my first couple of first month or so, which I wish I could remember where it was, but it was basically it was something along the lines of, you think that everyone's crashing into you, maybe it's you're crashing into them. And watched it, and it all made sense. Like, you can see the signals of a car up ahead that is going to lose it. You're way better off to slow down. Let the cars pass that are going to try and dive bomb down the inside of the crash and all that kind of stuff. The 3 or 4 seconds you lose for taking your foot off the accelerator and getting around that car, because you've seen all the signs that this guy's going to lose it, is going to save you and get you more positions at the end than trying to get past like a hero and crashing out. Patience is so much the key.
Absolutely. And I think probably the other thing I wish I knew was probably, I know it sounds a bit silly, but how much I was going to enjoy it. I really wish I had have spent the money outright to start off, and I know it's really hard to justify, so it's not probably something I would recommend saying, go out and spend all this money before realizing this isn't something for you. But I definitely could have saved myself a lot of money by not doing the small incremental upgrades to where I am now. I guess that's something I wish I knew in hindsight, but again, it's probably not something I would recommend because it is expensive, and unfortunately, and if it is something you find in the end that's just not for you, that's a big outlay. But in hindsight, it's something I wish I would have known beforehand, so I could have just gone straight to where I am now rather than those extra incremental steps along the way.
Yeah, I for full disclosure, I had some lessons with Chris Purnell, and that was when I was at Ozicar. It's the same situation as you. I felt like I was fast, but I was making mistakes all the time, and it just wasn't enjoyable because I was always finishing at the back, but I felt like I was quicker than a lot of people. And I took a couple lessons with him through that, and that was probably the biggest jump in my skill level that I've had. So he was showing me how I was going fast in the corners, which then made me slow out of corners and not very safe in the middle of the corner. So he then obviously worked on my line and just made sure that I was being patient, getting on the accelerator and a lot harder on the brakes before I got in, or a lot more on the brakes before I got into the corner. So I was losing, because the problem I went to him with was I was not able to overtake anyone, and that was because I was flying into a corner. I was catching right up to them, but then they were coming out a lot quicker than I was. So, the old slow in, fast out motto, you say it all the time, you think it all the time, but I wasn't doing that. And as soon as he showed me that, and I got my head around it, all of a sudden I was overtaking people within the first week or two of that. Now, I'm not saying go and get a lesson, but it helped me out so much. Just having someone sitting there watching me. And this was after probably about 6 to 12 months of me battling away, thinking, why me? Why am I not getting any better? And it was, it's only a second or so a lap, but, in the middle of that, I got a podium in Ozicar, because half the field crashed out, but, it's still, I got there. That's it. And I started qualifying back then in the top sort of 5, 6, 7, and all of a sudden, instead of being right down the back, and that made a huge difference, just having someone tell me, explain to me where to go. And the other thing is the little overlays.
Yep. I
had no idea what I was doing at the start, but having the right overlays from the start would have made such a difference as well. Just knowing better relative stuff, better splits, better, just stuff that gives me information of where I am compared to other people.
Yeah, and that's something we can take a bit of a dive into as we go through that segment. Mm-hmm.
There is a segment coming up, so watch out, because we both use very different things at the moment. We used to use the same, we use different, so it'd be good to have a good chat about that. So,
I guess having someone who I suppose, is respected, and that they know what they're doing, telling you that you're actually wrong, is sometimes quite powerful as well, because we do like to think we're right, and it does sometimes take someone who we know is better than us to say, hey, actually, this is how it's done.
Exactly. You're not doing it right at all. What are you doing? So we'll move on to the next question, which was from Facebook. It doesn't say which Facebook group, but there's a lot of them we put it on. But Lee Millerchip come up with, do you think the penalty system that iRacing uses is fair?
I've found this a really interesting question, and it wasn't something I'd really thought too much about recently, but I did actually, because I'm a professional and everything, I actually did a little bit of research and noticed a couple of ideas that people had come up as alternatives or improvements. And I guess first of all, when I first jumped into iRacing, I definitely thought it was the most unfair, ridiculous point system that I'd ever come across. Why should I be punished for someone else's mistake? And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel. Again, that was because I thought that everyone else was contributing to all mistakes and I had no part in them. Once I sort of started to understand the system a bit more and I adjusted my driving to probably suit the system, it actually made me a better driver. So I see what they are doing, but I understand why it's so frustrating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I came from Gran Turismo Sport to this brief time with Gran Turismo Sport. I liked the way they did it over there. There wasn't the penalty system. It was more time-based stuff. I honestly, for the life of me, it's been like 18 months now since I've even turned that on, but I remember it being a fairly good system over there, but then came to this and went, oh, okay, yeah, and I never got to the point. I don't think I've ever got a drive-through penalty except for in the endurance where we stacked it against you. I've never had a drive-through penalty for too many X's, and I've never been disqualified. I've been close a few times when I've decided I was good enough for IMSA. I'm going to go to Monza and race IMSA, and that was the worst decision of my life. About 3 months into iRacing, that really knocked me about actually that race. And don't do that, people. Don't jump way up ahead of your skill level, or you just because you got the license to do it. I think it's fair. I think it can definitely be improved, and I like the improvement they made about 12 months ago where they dropped it down and gave the drive-through penalty rather than the straight disqualification.
In some series.
I think, in some series. So the series that I mainly were going with, there's definitely, it's very hard to pick where the 0x and the 4x happens for contact. And look, I'm happy with where it is. It teaches you to be a better driver, as you said. Yeah. If you stay on the track and you steer clear of other people, and it was the biggest thing when I saw people coming up behind me that I knew were trying to dive bomb me and things like that. I'm like, just go past. Yeah. Just go past.
I think,
and then I'll wait for you to make a mistake, and you'll get like we saw it in Bathurst 12 Hour. The guys who got 85x, and we only got like 30. Yeah. And they got penalised and we didn't.
And probably about half of those were other people as well. So, it's I guess
half of those were that team.
But anyway. Let's not get into that. We could be here all night. The one thing I do enjoy about it is that it's a really no bias system. Which also can be its fault because it doesn't take into account circumstance. It doesn't take into account all of those things, but it means it's consistent. It means that it's not open to, I suppose, exploitation. You know what you're getting and you deal with it. One really interesting suggestion I saw when I was doing a little bit of research for this question was there being an option to add sort of a system that allowed drivers to take full responsibility of some accidents. So at the end of a race, we've all had those moments where you've just gone in too deep, you've tapped the grass, you've completely lost control, and you've ended up taking someone out of the race. I think most drivers are pretty good, apologise, whether it's on chat, afterwards, I'm sorry, that was clearly my fault. Offering iRacing an opportunity for someone to take full responsibility and say, hey, look, that was completely my fault. I stuffed up, and take the 4X for themselves, and then that 4X be removed from the person who was involved in the accident. I thought that was an interesting idea. It would definitely obviously rely on people owning up to stuff, but at the end of the day, two people are getting 4X regardless at the start. The person who has the problem and did the wrong thing will still get the 4X that they deserve. But at least it gives them an opportunity, I suppose, to go, hey, look, that was my fault. I will take that. I'll take full sole responsibility for that accident. And then at least that person who was the innocent bystander could have the 4X removed. So that was just an interesting sort of idea I saw.
That definitely would work. And, there will be people who go, no, definitely not taking responsibility for it. And then message you to say you need to take responsibility for that. But I think that's a small percentage. I think most people would really... I think most people in iRacing are fairly decent people. You definitely see more of the idiots out there because they're the ones that get highlighted the most. But I think most people actually generally apologetic when they make a big mistake, that causes someone to do that. The biggest problem with that is the major problem I have with it. I think you saw it when you were racing Bathurst last year, or last season when you got crashed into, and not your fault. You got put in for a 25-minute repair job, and that's it. You lost 100 and whatever iRating.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of the system, where nothing to do with you, and you lose the significant amount of iRating.
Yeah.
Just because, and that then tumbles into you being racing against weaker people and things like that. So it's that there needs to be a pass where if you have one minus 100 a month, it gets wiped off or something along those lines, where you can wear a bit of that hit.
And at the time of that, I was completely fuming, but I'm trying to take a bit more of a holistic approach to iRacing in general, and try and look at it over the grand scheme of things. And you know what? Yes, it was bad, but I'm sure I've probably done that to someone else at some point in time. As much as I like to think I'm a much safer driver, I still definitely make mistakes. So.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get on to Matthew Joy, my ex Locked On Racing teammate from Skip Barbers. He got us on the Facebook page, Locked On Lads. So he said, do you think being part of a league has helped not only your interest in iRacing, but helped propel your skills in the car? Or do you think it may have found similar progression sticking with the official races and just going up in the splits?
I 100% attribute a lot of my improvement to driving in a league. 100%.
Yep, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Now, Matthew Joy was actually the guy who got me into league racing. He did leagues for his dirt racing, and then he was the one who found Ozicar when it first started and linked me to it and said, you have a go. And I was just a battling driver at that stage, thinking I was the best, but I wasn't, and hoping I'd one day get to be good enough to be racing with the top split people. But there is nothing that taught me more about proper racing than racing with the Ozicar bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And I definitely wouldn't have got that in officials.
No.
Not at all.
And I think for me, I still remember back to my season 1 of Ozicar, my first practice session. I didn't hold the brakes when I crashed, and someone called me out on it, and I think it was Matt Marsh. And he was polite about it. He was just saying, hey, look, mate, you've spun off the track, hold your brakes, don't come back into the middle of the track and rejoin. And it was kind of a bit of an awakening for me, like, oh, no one's actually taken the time to explain something so simple to me. It's probably something I've done in officials where I probably would have just got shouted down from most people. And I think the ability to race close with the same people, getting used to the way they drive, all of those things have made me so much better. And I think there's a caveat to this. It has to be the right league. I think part of the reason why it's improved me so much is the fact that IRA runs a league with no fast repairs basically all of the time, which has forced me into being a lot safer.
Yeah, looking after that car. Yeah, no, I tried a few other leagues since, and none of them have stuck for the simple reason that none of them have felt like they're there to help me. Yep. They've always been battling against me. But yeah, definitely, I think my iRating was down around the 700s. I'd gone into a pretty big spiral there until I opted into iRacing. And as far as interest in iRacing, I don't think I've done many officials since. There was a period there where I just didn't race officials. I only raced Ozicar, and that was it. And who knows if I would be still iRacing at this stage if I wasn't doing Ozicar.
Yeah.
And then that is purely what Matthew Joy races these days. He doesn't race officials. He just he dropped away from iRacing for a long time. It was only because I convinced him to come back in and race again with us a couple seasons back that he renewed his membership and got back in and race with us.
Yeah,
so
and I think I definitely attribute a lot of the fun of being in that league to, I think you would agree, we got a great bunch of guys in the Aussie Car series. I think over the 6 seasons, there's probably no one's been a horrible person, for sure. We've had 1 or 2 people here that have liked to stir the pot, but the way Ira deals with it is pretty swift, and I think most people in there just don't tolerate it, and the league's been better for it. I've definitely made some really good connections with people, racing with Nathan, my teammate at the moment. I think holding each other a bit accountable in terms of not wanting to let each other down has definitely made me practice more and made me a better racer. I'd definitely suggest to anyone, if they haven't tried a league, and especially a league where you can race with a team member, or whether it be just entering into the special events and doing some of the endurance racing, the fun you get from racing with a teammate is massive.
And I think it adds to that fact. Like, I'm coming last in Ozicar at the moment, but I want to be better because I'm racing with Chastity. So I will 100% try and be better so we can get our team up the same. It was the same with Matthew Joy. When I crashed out and had a bad race, I felt so bad for him, more than I felt bad for me. So team racing is a whole different ball game. And officials, cool. You see a ladder. There's about 1,000 people on the ladder. If you race every race for the season, you got a chance to come in the top 50.
Yeah,
like there's nothing better than racing with the same 25 odd people and coming 15th or coming 12th, or just seeing that you're only 3 or 4 points ahead of behind X or Y Z on the track, and okay, I'm just going to try and focus on beating him this week. I don't care what else, I'm beating that person so I can get more points and get up. So
absolutely,
it's something completely different. You're just never going to get in officials ever. So yeah, definitely yes to everything that Matthew asked. But
good questions.
We only went. What's
good
that?
questions, all of them.
Yeah, exactly. We want more. Get us for all the different places. We'll post up next week, but definitely the easiest way is to jump in our Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord. Join us, hit us up with questions, and we'll happily discuss them. We've gone about half an hour over for this episode, about at least 15 minutes over what I thought we would, but it's been good content, so I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Brayden, for joining me for a podcast about iRacing in Australia, and something that's very rare. So we do want to obviously keep this going forward, so definitely keep listening, keep subscribing, keep reviewing, but keep supporting Brayden. Brayden, where can people find you, mate?
Yeah, so tomorrow night, all things going well, should be streaming the Aussie car races on twitch.tv/the1dwade. So you can always find me on there. Normally stream at least the Thursday night races, and if I get a chance on the weekend. And then if you want to chat or send through any questions, you can also hit me up at Brayden Talks on Twitter.
Yes, definitely do that. Like I said, he's in every Discord and every Facebook group, so find him that way as well. You can also find myself. Look, the easiest way is to go to lockedonlads.com. I've got a little blog that goes up there, a couple posts a week. I've been a bit slack at the moment because work's getting a bit busy again. But Locked On Lads YT is a YouTube channel. I just put up a video tonight, which is a sneaky preview of Lime Rock West Bend chicane in the Skippies for tomorrow night. Just something I've been trying to practice and get ready for. It's got an out lap for me talking about the track. It's got a first flying lap, and then it's got a bit of an in lap. And then I put my fastest lap in there, and then I put a whole heap of bloopers at the end where I spun out multiple times in the hour trying to get a faster lap.
I will definitely be checking that out for the bloopers.
So, and the biggest blooper of all is the way I record videos is I don't have a lot of time to edit, so I try and get it right the first time. So I put everything in the one thing. So I'm recording the replay, I'm recording the actual race all at the same time. And unfortunately with this video, the replay audio snuck onto the rig audio feed, and so all you're hearing is the replay audio. So it sounds off and it's a bit loud, but I fixed it and it'll be better for next week. But yeah, keep an eye on that YouTube channel. I've got my race for the officials coming up on that in the next couple of days. Also, Circuit Superstars has got another video coming up fairly soon as well. You can find me on the Facebook, Locked On Lads. Go like us over there. The more likes we get, the better over there. Twitter, Locked On Lads, and my personal Twitter is Wilko's Chill Zone. But definitely like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Review the podcast. That's how we need to build this thing as quick as we can. Like I said, we've got some special guests. We've got one special guest confirmed. We've got many, many more in the works. But keep it locked here. We will be back next week with another episode. More stuff to talk about. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. See you later.
See you later. Good luck. Drive fast. Enjoy.